Welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Tuesday night, we're ready to get down to brass tacks. And what better way? But we're doing the brass tacks of Laurie Strode, played wonderfully for so many years, decades, by the immortal Jamie Lee Curtis. We got Coriander with me, Kills with me, and of course, Eric is back. We're ready to rock. This is going to be a lot of fun, guys. What's going on?
Not much, man. Glad to be
Not
here.
much.
All right, all right. Let's see who we have in the chat, and then we're gonna get going on this, man, because I think there's gonna be a lot to talk about this iconic character and also this iconic actress in the horror genre. Um, we got Brandon in the chat saying, "Hey, Night Watch Zone, what's going on? Nice to
Hey,
see you." Crystal's in the chat saying, "Hello, hello. What's going on, Crystal? How you doing?" Let's see. Jordan's in the chat saying, "I'm at school, so I'll miss the stream unless you are streaming still after 10 p.m." Oh man. Hey, there's always replay.
replay.
There's always
Right.
replay. But thanks for dropping in. Thanks for dropping in. We appreciate that, Jordan. Austin's in the chat. What's good, Night? Not much, man. What's going on with you? Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Hey, look who's in the chat. Jake. What's up, Jake? What is going on, man? Nice to see you. David, it was the boogeyman. That's right. It was always the
Yeah.
boogeyman. Denisha's in the chat too. What's going on, Denisha? How you doing?
Hello.
Nice to see you.
Hey.
All right. Welcome, everybody. So, guys, we've been in this new series called The Brass Tacks. This has been a lot of fun. We've talked about some really great, iconic characters played by very iconic actors and actresses. Tonight, man, this is pretty special in and of itself because obviously all of us are horror fans to the max. And in my opinion, and I'll let you guys jump in with it. I'll start with you, Coriander, and then Kill and Eric. But to me, we're going to be talking about the final girl. Just my humble opinion. To me, this is the final girl. No questions at all. So let's start this thing off. Coriander, what are some of the thoughts for you as far as Laurie Strode, what she means to you, any memories or thoughts that come to mind for you?
This character, I mean, I love Jamie Lee as Laurie. Um, I guess I'm like a Jamie Lee fan anyway. I love
Yeah.
everything she does. But
Mm-hmm.
with this character, yeah, I mean, she was just a sweet, innocent girl in high school,
Mm-hmm.
living her day-to-day life when, yeah, one day this crazy guy came and, yeah, wreaked havoc on her and her friends.
Yeah.
So, you know, she's, she goes through a lot and, she's not a pushover, and her resilience is something that is awesome because no matter what Michael brings, she always finds a way to get through it. So yeah,
Mm.
she's a fighter, even though she doesn't
Mm.
know it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love that word, the resilience. That's like a perfect word. That word didn't even cross my mind, but I think that is a perfect word for Laurie Strode. That was awesome. That really I was really giddy last week, man, and I might get like that now because you guys know,
It's
anyone that
expected
knows,
now.
it's almost expected, but you guys know, as far as I'm concerned, Carpenter is one of my favorite directors, and Halloween, I mean, it's at the top of that list. And obviously, this character is what, in my opinion, what makes Halloween move. So, anyways, but that was great,
Mhm.
Coriander. Seriously, how about you, Kill? I mean, what comes to mind when you think of Laurie Strode?
Well, I mean, Knight, we grew up with Jamie Lee. We grew up with this movie and this
Yes.
franchise. And
Hmm.
Jamie Lee is such a great actress. I mean, she is the
Yes.
original, scream queen.
Yes.
And her portrayal of Laurie, whether it's in the original movie or if it's in the newer set of movies, or even in some of the Halloween movies that weren't the most well received, as
Hmm.
far as her playing Laurie, she's
Yeah.
always great.
Yes.
And she's had to show so many emotional sides of this character,
Hmm.
being a young high school girl that's a little naive, to being a survivor,
Hmm.
being a defender, being a mom, going through PTSD. I
Yeah.
mean, you name it, this character has gone through the whole gambit. And she is just a super strong, awesome, protective, loyal, sweet, intelligent character. So
Absolutely. And Eric, before I get to you real quick,
Mhm.
just to check out the chat, Jake said, "Not much, man." All right. Well, I'm glad you're doing good, man. Bacon's in the chat. What's up, man? How you doing? What is going on?
Nice.
Austin saying, "I want to like Halloween Ends, but I am skeptical after Kills." Oh, there. See that we started already. No, we definitely.
Are we going there already?
We's gonna go there, brother.
Let's go there.
No. Hey, no, but seriously, I think that that's a very important part of the conversation, and we're going to talk about that too, because obviously we're going to get at least one more chance to check out this character. But I hear what you're saying, Austin, and I think that that's an interesting part of the discussion for sure. Crystal was saying, I loved her in '78, but I somehow fell in love with her in Halloween 2018. She's able to take her character and just keep making her fresh. Absolutely amazing. That was, I totally agree. Totally. David said, I bet your next brass tacks will be on Sidney Prescott. You never know, man. We got a lot of ideas, man. We got some ideas. Look who's in the chat. Valerie is in the chat saying, "Good evening, everyone." Hey, Valerie, one of our members, and thank you so much for your generous support. We appreciate that. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. But Eric, for you, I mean, what do we got going on in your head about this character and what she means?
Well, I don't know if I've said it on this channel or another channel I've been on. I got into horror later on in my life, like 12, 13. You know, I wasn't real young. I was the action kid. You know what I mean? So, or you know, with my mom, the comedy. So my Jamie Lee growing up was like My Girl, True Lies, Trading Places. So the first time I actually got to know Jamie Lee as like the Scream Queen was H2O. That was my first Laurie Strode.
Okay.
And then because I'd seen like, you know, the sequels before that, you know, 4 and 5 and 6. Because when I first started getting into horror, that's when 6 came out. So when I started doing my research and stuff like that, I'm like, wow, it's really cool to see where this character started compared to where I first saw her to compared to where she's gone. And it's not like an ongoing joke, you know, it's nothing but tragedy here on the brass tacks, you know what I mean? This character started off super innocent, and then boom, once H2O hits, you see what she's dealing with, and then further on down the line. And it's just, Jamie Lee is just so good at being so different throughout this timeline with her character. Multiple timelines now. You know, someone flamethrower joked in the chat that she's a time traveler. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the thing is, she's the constant. You know what I mean? She's the constant, and she brings it in every performance. Whether it's like Killian said, a film that's not, you know, well liked or well received, she's still the reason to watch.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I totally agree. Valerie is saying, Austin, you didn't like Kills? You know, Kills was definitely, it was divisive. I mean, let's just be real about it. We for most of you guys, you probably know, but just to say, we went through the whole franchise with our series review, and when we got to Kills, that was an interesting episode. The live chat was lit, and even some of our you know, close friends, you know, like Eric, like my man Grande from Grande's Graveyard. Grande said that Michael should have been called Michael Wick in Halloween Kills, because he was taking out fools left and right, and there's some truth to that. There's truth to that.
I'm sorry, but I loved both of those movies, you know. I'm a big fan.
I do. Yep. Brandon saying, in my opinion, I'm not as hard with Laurie Strode as some others are. Yeah. Austin saying, I'm going to be honest, Kills was good, but frustrating to watch. Yep.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I can see that. Crystal saying, you got to take Kills for what it is, a link between 2018 and Ends. That's exactly what I was just going to say. I mean, we, you know, for a lot of people that aren't, you know, in the inner circle of things, they may not have known that this was originally planned to be a trilogy. And not to say that the middle episode or the middle movie, Kills, should be given a you know, a golden pass for that, but it is a continuing story, you know, and you always have that bridge. And I think that's what Kills was, because in that movie, it wasn't about Laurie and it wasn't about Allison. It was really about Haddonfield and Michael, you know, and that dynamic, evil infecting and so forth. But anyways, Coriander, let's get into some other things with Laurie Strode. Do you have any favorite moments or memories of her throughout the series?
I just like watching her and how she survives Michael. I like seeing what she thinks up, especially, in part two, and Halloween 2, this poor girl.
Yes.
I do love how this movie follows the first movie, and you feel bad for her because she's helpless. Everyone is getting killed around her, but she's still finding a way to survive and make it
Yes.
through. And again, we find out it's her brother. So
Right.
that was, something that I could have, taken. I didn't need that at all, for this to be freaky and scary. Some people
Right.
are like, ooh, the brother factor, that gave him a reason. Crazy people don't need reasons to kill. So that for me just didn't work.
Right. Absolutely.
But
I will say this too, and then I'll throw it to you, Kill. And Kill, you obviously know this, but look, man, hospitals creep me out because of Halloween 2. Literally.
Yep.
I'm serious. I remember, and Kill, you remember this when we would go see Aunt Bernice, and we'd go, to her complex, and we had to get into that old school elevator. You know what I'm saying? And every time I did, man, I think about that scene where she's in the elevator, and Michael Audrey Myers is coming at her, and it's so old school. You know what I'm saying? But for real, places like a hospital and elevators, I used to really correlate it to Halloween 2. But I will say, and Kill, I'm going to throw it to you about it, but I think what was so cool about Halloween 2 is it had so much buildup to that third act. And that third act, still to this day, I mean, again, I'm a fan, so I know I'm speaking as a fan, but that chase scene at the end, that last third act, is still so tense, still keeps me on the edge of my seat, even though I know what's going to happen. And just credit to Jamie Lee. But Kill, what do you think about Halloween 2? Because a lot of times people, and we've talked about it too, they don't look at it as highly because Jamie Lee is sidelined in the movie till the end. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I love Halloween 2, whether it's officially part of canon now or not, or alternate timeline or variant Laurie, whatever. But I do understand the divisiveness of it because, and I hope this isn't any spoilers, just like in Halloween Kills, Laurie is there, but she's not.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, in a way, she's even less in Halloween Kills than in Halloween 2, but she's there. But for the most part, I mean, she's in a hospital and she's recuperating from being attacked earlier that night and barely surviving. So she's a little doped up and hurt, at least mainly towards till the final act of that movie. But I could see a lot of people also not liking 2 as much because, oh man, we're not in the neighborhood anymore, and where's Dr. Loomis? He's like on his way there. Hey, shots out,
What's up?
So essentially you have, kind of those 2 players that you fell in love with in the first movie, and one of them is bedridden most of the time, and the other one is trying to get people to believe him again, and he's trying to get to her. So, it's a very interesting movie, but I love that movie. And unlike you, I'm not as afraid of hospitals, but seriously, everyone listening, Night is not lying. Ever since seeing Halloween 2, hospitals at nighttime have creeped him out. Okay, so no scary hospitals at night photos sent to him, please. No,
man, for real. I just equate it to that. And shit, to be serious, and that just going off topic a little bit, then I'll get to you, Eric. But when H2, Rob Zombie's H2, did the homage, I remember watching that movie in the theater, and as soon as they were in the hospital, shooting it, and it's in the beginning and showing Laurie going through the surgery and the recuperation, and then Michael Audrey shows up. I was like, no. And of course, that movie is so much more violent,
Mhm.
you know, and aggressive. So that really messed me up, man. But anyways, but for you, Eric, how about, and I know we're all over the place with this. We're going to go into dark territory because you know how we got to do it. But what about the small bit that she had in Resurrection? She basically finished off her quote unquote obligation. She wasn't very happy, you know, with where the character was going, but she's a consummate professional. She still did what she had to do. And I think there was still some moments in that movie, even though the way it ended was, to me, kind of ridiculous, but that wasn't Jamie Lee Curtis's fault.
Now we know whose fault that is.
Whose?
Well, Bust is the main
Busta.
reason. There you go. You
No,
waiting, weren't you?
not again.
Look at Coriander. She's
Every time.
I'm sorry.
Uh,
I'm sorry, Eric. I didn't mean to.
no. That was expected. I was hoping
Yeah,
you were
he
setting
did.
that up too.
He's gonna do it again, so just be.
Yeah, I know he will.
Right?
Um,
Oh man.
my main problem, since we're going straight to Resurrection, was because what they did to her character concerning how great I thought she was in H2O.
Yes.
Like you guys were talking about how great that final act is in Halloween 2.
Mm-hmm.
I think my favorite. We'll just cut to the chase right now. My favorite Laurie Strode performance is H2O,
Mm-hmm.
and it's mainly based on that final act.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is they just, I don't know if dumb down her character is the right term, but I look at it this way. Sure, she's in the mental hospital, the mental ward because she killed an innocent man.
Right.
Well, we can let that slide. You know what I mean? But the fact that Michael tricked her, she is so smart in this series. You know what I mean?
Yes.
The fact that she had a, you know, the hunter's trap, you know, around his leg and he's hanging up. That's great. But the fact that she fell for a joke like he's going to take his mask off and everything again, and she fell for it. She says, I got to see. She doesn't even know what he looks like. That's the thing.
Yeah.
This is a smart woman.
Right.
And it's just like, wow, you really made her fall for the oldest trick in the book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're not saying Michael's dumb. Michael's Michael. You know, he could have tried it, but the fact that she fell for it and she's like, okay, I could kill him right now. End this. Go home. Comb Josh Hartnett's hair for once. And be on with my life. But no, she has to fall for that. I got to see what he looks like.
Right.
Bit. And I didn't mind that she was killed off. Even though it meant that we had to follow the other characters for 90 minutes, especially you know who. But it's just like, it was just so disappointing. It was a cool Yep, there. Yeah, I fucking knew it. It was a cool cameo overall.
Right.
It was a decent last hurrah at the time. It's just that one thing, her falling for that trick, just really pissed me off, to be honest.
Yeah. I agree, man. I remember when I first saw that, I was like, are you fucking joking?
Yeah.
Laurie Strode would never fall for that.
Exactly.
She never would. But that's a good point, and it really frustrated me too. Also in the chat, Crystal was saying, off topic, I laugh watching 2018 and Kills because for how much slack 3 gets, you always see that damn pumpkin, witch, and skeleton mask on kids in the background. That is so true. And
you do.
And I know this is off topic, but if you guys haven't seen a video I did a while back on a theory that I have about Halloween Ends and what might happen, you know, some connection to Season of the Witch, check that out. There'll be more to come with that. But David Gordon Green was a huge fan of Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. And this was his way of showing respect to the idea, and of course, unfortunately, the failure that Carpenter and Deborah Hill faced when they released Season of the Witch. So this was his way of saying, "Hey, we're back," you know, and it was a good idea, at least in his eyes. It wasn't mine too. And let's see, we got Marcus. Marcus is in the chat. What's going on with the pumpkin? Crystal, I shot him 6 times. I shot him in the heart. Yes. Valerie, the Laurie Strode character is iconic. Set the standard for future Scream Queens, Final Girls. It absolutely did. I absolutely agree with that. True enough. And there he is, my man Strange Monkey, a huge fan of the franchise. Regardless of how people feel about the recent Halloween films, I'm glad Jamie Lee Curtis reprised her iconic role once again. Absolutely, too. Yeah, I agree. No doubt. Brandon saying hospitals freak me out too because I spent a good portion of my childhood in and out of one. Oh
That'll do
man,
Mm.
it that would do it. Yeah, you don't even need Halloween to do that for you.
Mhm.
But Coriander, let's we're dancing around the new trilogy. How do you feel about her character in 2018 and also Kills? And what do you think is going to happen in Halloween Ends? Because this could literally be the last time we see Jamie Lee Curtis, in this role.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this lady's been, waiting her whole life for him to come back. So
Yes.
she's been preparing and, she's pretty much ready to face her fear whenever it comes after her. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean,
True enough.
I enjoyed her. I thought she made a great grandmother.
Right?
I liked how they portrayed her.
Mhm.
She's tough, obviously.
Yeah, man.
It sucks that she doesn't have a relationship with her daughter, but
Mhm.
you can kind of see how it would be a little different when you're living with someone who lives with fear
Right.
constantly. And
Mm.
so, you know, uh, like y'all say, she's a tortured character. And
Yeah.
it's going to be nice for her to finally end this because it's
Mm.
been her whole life she's been dealing with this shit. So, yeah.
Right. Yep. Good point. Absolutely. How about you, Kill?
I absolutely love her reprisal of this character in the 2018 film. Um,
Yeah.
She is a tortured soul. Her entire life has been consumed with this horrific event she experienced as a teen. That doesn't leave you. All your friends die.
Yeah.
You're haunted by this guy who's still alive, yet he's in a mental institution, but he's still alive.
Mm.
And it has unfortunately spilled over and tainted every relationship she has ever had, whether it was with her, her daughter, her granddaughter, her daughter's husband, because of how she raised her daughter, that's all she knew was the
Right.
fear and the preparation, which came in handy, obviously.
Yes.
But I just feel that the way that they cultivated this character for the newer movies showed accurately someone still experiencing PTSD, someone experiencing going through a traumatic event, and the fallout that happens to the people around them. And and once again, like that one image you showed where she has the tank top on, don't mess with that lady. That lady is badass, dude. Like, I mean, seriously, do you want to mess with that? Do you that's a grandmother. That's a grandmother. Yeah. But do you want to like talk trash to her? I don't think so. And you had asked earlier like some of our favorite Laurie moments. I gotta say, a lot of the ones that came to my mind are from the newer movies, especially the first one, the 2018 one. Just seeing how prepared she was, it was like watching Batman. She was just so prepared. Or it was like a mixture of like watching Batman and like a good version of Saw, where she's preparing traps in a good way. You know what I mean? and I absolutely loved it, every second of it. So
yes, absolutely. And I want to say one other thing too, and I'm sure we'll probably get into this, but what they gave her, especially in the 2018 movie, they gave her a lot to work with as an actress. Yes. And I think that was not only smart, but I think it just made the story just so full. It gave it so much weight because she had scenes in 2018, and we talked about this in the individual episode, but she had scenes in 2018 that literally, and I'm honest enough to say it, that almost made me get teary-eyed and emotional because she was showing the weight of dealing with this issue. When she broke down this scene right here, Jamie Lee Curtis was putting on a show, an acting show. And I think it was smart for them to not only respect her as a character, but also as an actress to give her that type of stuff. But anyways, Eric, what about you? I mean, what do you think about the portrayal in these new films and where it might head to? Any favorite moments or thoughts or anything like that?
It's not a secret. I'm not a huge fan of 2018, but my reasons are not Laurie Strode related.
Mhm.
They're story related. They're timeline related. If you want to go that route,
Mhm.
like I said before, the constant glue is Jamie Lee Curtis, and
Mhm.
regardless of what I think of the movie as a whole, I've never once, I never once crapped on her performance, regardless of what
Mhm.
I think about the film, because I like her. I like the tragedy she brings to this character.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, even if they got rid of part two. I personally think they got rid of part two so they can get rid of the whole brother sister thing, which is
Mhm.
fine. I mean,
Yeah.
Carpenter himself said it took a 6-pack for him to throw that in there, so it
Mhm.
wasn't really important.
Right.
But she still has that weight of what happened to her. I mean, I've never personally been stalked by a person, over a night, so I can't say, that's not how a person would be for 40 years. You don't know
Mhm.
how a person going through a traumatic experience is going to deal.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
with her performance in 2018, you buy the tragedy, you buy the
Mhm.
tension between her and her daughter and her brother-in-law. You buy the love she has for her granddaughter, since she now has no relationship with her own daughter.
Mhm.
And the scene we you guys just talked about when she's in the restaurant breaking down because she
Mhm.
shows up a little drunk and this and that. She's coping, which sadly,
Yes.
the way people cope sometimes. And she is the perfect hermit. You know what I mean?
Yes. Mhm.
She is in the backwoods of all backwoods. You
Right.
know what I mean? Away from society, because
Yeah.
all she has is herself. You know
Mhm.
what I mean?
Mhm.
And I didn't like it in the beginning. It took a couple rewatches. I kind of grew on the preparedness, like right there.
Mhm.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I bought her portrayal. It's just like
Mhm.
with her character. It took me a little while to like, like the traps and the stuff like that.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
again, it's just her portrayal as Laurie it's not over the top.
Yeah.
She could be crying and bawling this whole movie, and she's not. She keeps
Mm.
that guard up.
Mhm.
And you see that with the podcasters. She's just there for the money. She
Mhm.
talks to them for 5 minutes, basically takes their money and kicks them out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she's just fantastic.
I agree.
Mhm.
I absolutely agree. Real quick too in the chat, Strange Monkey was saying, "I feel bad for Jamie Lee. She found out a few weeks before H2O that there was a clause in the
Mm-hmm.
contract that states that Michael couldn't be killed." Unbelievable. Yeah, the Akkads, Mustafa. That's what he said, is that Michael cannot be killed. And I think that was a direct um, reaction to Halloween 2, because at the end he's basically killed. That was the intent, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why they went to Season of the Witch. That didn't work out, and then they say, "Hey, man, we gotta dance with who brought us," and they brought Michael back in 4. So interesting stuff for sure. Brandon saying, "I'm so happy Gordon Green included a homage to H3 because it is my favorite of the franchise." Hey, absolutely. Season of Witch is a really good movie. Coriander knows, and
It's
and and
magic,
and,
girl.
and myself too, man. When I was a kid, and Kill, you
Oh,
know
you
this,
guys.
I used to hate Season of the Witch, and it took me
Mhm.
years to just open my mind a little bit, and then I
Mm-hmm.
saw what it was all about. Carrie's in the chat, another one of our supporters. Thank you so much, Carrie, for hanging out, saying, "Hey, everyone. Laurie Strode is legend. Can we just say that first and foremost? She was a babysitter just watching neighborhood kids, then becomes a fighter who protects those kiddos. Legend." Yeah, absolutely. And
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
and I and I, and I loved that about her in that movie. Her first concern was Lindsay and Tommy,
Yeah.
and I know that some people had issues with, especially Tommy in Halloween Kills, but I did think it was kind of cool, that one line that he said to Laurie in the hospital, where he said, "You stood up for us and protected us when we were little. Now we're going to do that for you." Yes, it's nostalgia, but my mind automatically went to that scene in the original Halloween.
Sometimes nostalgia works. It's necessary.
Right. I think so. And I mean, this new trilogy, it's obviously leaning on nostalgia, but I think it's doing it in a very good way. And they're paving a new path for this franchise, which and obviously Coriander and Kill, they know this. It's like, I didn't think that they could make it fresh. After being around for 50 years, this franchise basically, every movie was kind of a mirror of earlier films. And here comes this new trilogy, and they really make it fresh. I was just really just impressed with that. Carrie saying, Laurie is a badass. I would not mess with her. Hell no. She knows how to use a gun far too well. Exactly. What's up, Steven? Steven's in the chat.
Hey,
Sup,
Steven.
party people? How you doing, man? We got Anthony from Fever Dreamland in the chat saying, hey, y'all, Laurie Strode is the most badass grandmother around. Curtis remains a highlight of the franchise. Absolutely. I absolutely agree with that, no doubt. And, the other thing I want to say, we talked about this in our other episodes, but, you got to give credit to people. And I just want to say, this guy knows what's happening. Because
Yeah, he does.
Just shout out to John Carpenter, because he's the one, man. He's the one that said, hey, let's take a chance on this actress, and she wasn't proven or anything. I mean, obviously her mom was famous, but he took a chance on Jamie Lee Curtis, and she's always given him credit for that. And I think it's just a beautiful thing. And just to think about that, all these years, 50 years, man, and to have them reunited, working together again.
That's a great picture.
Thank you, Eric. Because look, man, you know me. I'm getting there, man, and I'm just trying to hold back because I absolutely love both of these artists, because they've meant a lot to me in my life, and I think they've meant a hell of a lot to the horror genre and for all of us as horror fans. I just want to just say that, and that's why I love doing this series, because it gives us a chance just to take a moment to show respect. And these two, they're masters. I mean, I'm just going to put it out there. That's my opinion, but they're absolute masters. But anyways, Coriander, Halloween Ends is coming up in October. Do you think this is the last time Jamie Lee Curtis will portray Laurie Strode?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, that's my quick question for each of you guys. What about you, Kill? What do you think?
I think so. I think she kills Michael and they both die.
Oh, okay. So now, can you elaborate on that a little bit? So go ahead.
Well, and this is a sad thing as far as us as like horror fans. We've never really been with a hero character this long in any horror franchise, and to have a great actress like Jamie Lee, and to be blessed that she's still living and with us. Yes, and that this series has gone through ups and downs, peaks and valleys, and in reboots or the new trilogy. I think the ultimate end would be for her to kill him and unfortunately die with him.
Okay. All right. How about you, Eric? Do you think this is the last time we're going to see Jamie Lee Curtis in the wonderful role of Laurie Strode?
I think I'm just gonna steal what Killian said, because I honestly think this will. I think Laurie is going to die along with Michael. I think it's the Ends is going to be the title for both Michael and Laurie, especially Michael and Jamie Lee, because you never know what money's going to do when the Akkad. No, with the Akkads, you know what I mean. But I think this will be the perfect way, because if you think about it, the first movie is over 40 years old.
Yeah.
And Jamie Lee Curtis has been a scream queen off and on for 40 years. You know what I mean? She's never hid that fact. She's very proud of it. And she's very proud, like we said, or like you said, of John Carpenter giving her start.
Yes.
And I think now that she is willingly in the final part of a trilogy, or however unlike Resurrection, I think this would be the perfect way for her to go out. I mean, who knows how much, this isn't a knock on her age, but who knows how much longer she's going to be making movies. What if this was her final film? What if she ends the franchise where she started? And then this would be the perfect way to put Laurie Strode to rest in more ways than one. So I do think it's going to be the end for both of them.
No way. Can I just say before you go? Oh, you're gonna go ahead. No, go ahead. What were you gonna do?
Well, Tuba Chat's in the chat too, saying what's going on? How you doing, man? But no, go ahead, Coriander. What were you gonna say?
For me, I hope Laurie and Officer Hawkins, because they had quite a bond in that room. sharing, a moment together there.
Right.
I'm hoping they're going to take Michael out and then they're going to live happily ever after. That's how Laurie should end her life, knowing that Michael is finally dead. She can have that peace and have that love and move on.
Okay, so you want a happy ending. I hear you. It would be nice to see that she's earned it.
Oh yeah.
And I
Hell yeah.
I think a lot of times when we think about these iconic heroes, especially from our generation, because we're all in the same generation, you do want a happy ending, and she's literally, I think, Kill, you were saying, I mean, she's literally lived with this trauma for freaking 40 years,
Yeah.
so she has earned the rest. And I'll throw this out in a second, but I have an idea about what I think will happen in Ends as well. But real quick, and I think a few people, Crystal included, were talking about love watching the daughter come full circle to the basement scene where she mocks crying and then says, "Gotcha." And you see all the training she once rejected come out. I agree with that. And I think Judy Greer, did a great job in showing that arc. And Andy Matichak, I just want to say, Andy Matichak, I think we're going to have to watch out for her in this new movie. And I've done a little bit of talking about it, kind of my ideas on how the character arcs will go. And thanks a lot, Tuba Chat. We appreciate you sharing us out. That is awesome. Thank you. And I think that there's going to be some interesting things, but I agree with you to an extent, Coriander. I think, and I was going to do another video on this, but I'll say it right now. I think we're going to have a 4-year gap between Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. A lot of people are thinking, why do we have a 4-year gap? Why would they do that? Well, I'm going to tell you why, or at least my thought. 4 years will allow Laurie Strode to process her tragedy, which, of course, spoilers, at the end of Kills, obviously, someone dies. And I think the 4 years is going to allow her to process some of that. I'm not saying all of it. And I also think her and Officer Hawkins will be together in some capacity. And I also think that Laurie Strode, and I'm not saying she's going to be singing and dancing and all this type of stuff, but I think that she is going to kind of come back around a little bit closer to the Laurie Strode that we had seen in the original Halloween, because I mean, and here's my reasoning for this, and then I'll go to each of you guys and ask what you think. Now, notice I haven't answered the question if this is the last time she's gonna, do this character. That I'm gonna leave that to another moment. But like I said, I think she's gonna process this tragedy, and she's gonna be depicted a lot more like she was in the original Halloween. And I think the reason for that is because it's going to allow her character to have some growth, because at the end of Kills, obviously, she's just going to go further down a rabbit hole. But I think that that's too simple of a story. We've already seen her at her lowest of lows in 2018, and in Halloween Kills going lower than that. So we've already seen it. I think she's going to be resurrected. No, that's a bad word, but she's going to come back. She's going to come back a little bit, you know what I'm saying? And I think she's going to be a little bit more positive. And I think that's going to happen to her character. But wait, there's more, because I think it's almost going to be like yin and yang, because while she comes back to being more positive, maybe a little bit more happy, her and Officer Hawkins and so forth, that's going to be what happens to her. But Andy Matichak, I think Andy Matichak is the one we got to watch out for on Halloween Ends, because I think she's going to be ready to rock and roll. I think she's going to, because remember in 2018, the grandmother was the fighter, and her and Allison was saying, "Let go of the boogeyman, let it go," and she didn't understand anything. And I think in Halloween Kills, both of them started to kind of shift. You know what I'm saying? They started out here. And here's Halloween Kills. And then all of a sudden, I think in Halloween Ends, they're going to flip-flop. And Andy Matichak, she's going to be the one that's bloodthirsty. She's going to want to avenge her mother and so forth.
And father.
I think and father, true. And I think Laurie Strode is going to be the one to try to reel her in to protect her. Now, obviously, at the end of the day, she's got to face Michael. But I think you do this for the story. Plus, you give Jamie Lee Curtis a lot to work with. 2018, Halloween Kills, and now she can move into a different direction with Ends. And I think that that's the reason why. So that's my long-winded theory on that. And I still haven't answered if she's going to live or die. But what do you guys think about that? I'll start with you, Coriander. Do you think that's a possibility? Am I crazy or what?
It's a possibility.
Okay.
I'm hoping she's going to live and
Mhm.
take him out, whether it's with Hawkins and her granddaughter. So
Mhm.
be it. I just
Mhm.
hope that she does find peace, because she
Okay.
deserves it.
Okay. All right. What about you, Kill? I mean, do you think that there's a chance that this Laurie Strode we see in Halloween Ends is depicted a lot different than she was in 2018 and Kills? Or do you think she's just going to keep going down that rabbit hole?
No, I think she will be a little softer because 4 years, that'll give her time to recuperate mentally and physically and to process things. But, it's funny. One thing I agree with what you were saying. Each one of these movies in my mind have focused on one of these women. It's
Yes.
3 women. The
Mhm.
first movie is mainly Laurie. The second one is Judy Greer. And the third
Yes.
one, I believe it will be the granddaughter.
Yes.
And
Yep.
I totally agree with you because, once again, I'm not going to say spoilers of what happened at the end of Kills, but the granddaughter, she's going to have a lot more incentive possibly to go darker.
Mhm.
And once again, I think it's kind of something that is beautiful there that you don't really see it as each of these women's their kind of story or arc. We always think it's all about Laurie, but it's really not, especially if you saw Kills and how much Judy Greer actually was way more present in this movie.
Yes.
Either out of necessity for Laurie recuperating or, just, hey, this is more of the Judy Greer movie.
Mhm.
But I love that, and it's something that you don't really see unless you just really kind of look into the details of it. Like, oh yeah. But I'm looking forward to Ends. But I will say this one thing to kind of Coriander. I want Laurie to have that beautiful
Same
ending.
here.
But I'll tell you this: if Laurie Strode definitively kills Michael Audrey Myers as she's dying,
Mhm.
she will give a smile and go peacefully. And that to her would still be, hey, this was a good death and a victory. Like you are definitively dead. Now I can go.
Alright.
And
No.
I know I
Yeah.
don't want it
I don't want it
either.
either. I don't want it either. But I kind of agree with a lot
Stop
of what you said
saying
about that,
that.
Kill.
I'm
Hey, man,
sorry.
hey,
I love
there's no
Jamie Lee.
lying. There's no
Yeah.
lying here. You know that.
This yeah, but this is just, what we predict. Let's not
Yeah, no.
predict something like this. Come on.
All right. Well, we're just being honest. Jamie's in the chat saying hello. Laurie Strode taught me that there is more than one way to use a knitting needle. That's so true, man. C-Man's in the chat. What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? And also for you guys in the chat, please give the video a like. That would really help support the channel, and we'd appreciate it. And hopefully you guys are enjoying this. But Eric, what do you think of my little tirade I went on, or my little theory?
I like that idea because I totally forgot that there's going to be the 4-year gap because now it's going to take place in present day. Because if you think about it, Kills did take place in 2018 as well.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Same night.
Yeah.
I like the idea of her having some hope in her life, some
Yes.
sunlight, whatever you want, shining light, whatever you want. And then maybe she can see the road her granddaughter's going down because she's been there herself.
Yes.
And she wants to steer her from that path. They still have a job to do, but she wants to, don't be what I became. Look what it caused between me and your mom, me and you, again, living by myself. It destroyed me. Because I think the granddaughter's probably around the same age as Laurie was in the first movie, give or take a few years.
Yep.
So she will now see her as a younger version of herself, and that can also give her some redemption.
Yeah.
So I like that idea, and it does make sense because this is the third generation of that family. This is the third chapter in this new trilogy, I guess you want to say. So it makes sense to have a granddaughter go down that road too, and then Laurie try to bring her back.
Yeah, I mean, How awesome would that be? I mean, again, guys, we're talking about a slasher movie. At the end of the day,
Right.
this is just a slasher movie,
Yeah.
right? But again, and I know that these two movies weren't perfect, but I got to give them a hell of a lot of credit for trying to put some story, some weight into these movies.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you rarely see that in slasher films. And like I said, this is a 50-year-old franchise to be doing things in these movies that we hadn't really seen to the
Mm-hmm.
depth that they're doing. That's a victory in and of itself, man. Just in my opinion, my humble opinion. Real quick too, Marcus was saying, Jamie said in an interview that Halloween fans are going to be very disappointed at the ending of this movie. Now that's true. She said that they were going to be pissed or ticked off, and I have some theories about that as well. It makes me wonder how the ending is going to happen. You know what I'm saying? And I could see fans, but she might have just been saying that in a broad stroke, because I can see fans being upset if she dies, like
Mhm.
Coriander, and I can see fans being upset if Michael is if he dies definitively. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be interesting.
Or she could just be full of shit and she could just be lying.
Yes, it's true.
I mean,
Very,
let,
true.
let's without spoilers, since it's still somewhat new. Let's just look at the Spider-Man No Way Home.
Good
How
old
many
Andrew
secrets and lies?
Garfield.
How many lies were told for over a year?
Andrew Garfield is the
never
greatest
know.
actor on earth.
Exactly. So you never. It could be a great ending where no one's upset.
True enough. Catch you later, Steven. Take it easy, man. See you later, man. What were you going to say, Coriander?
I was just gonna say it's gonna end up like this, they're gonna kill Michael, and then in the next movie, his daughter, Laurie's granddaughter is gonna come back, dig him up, drive a stake through his heart, and lightning.
They know
and
better
then he's
than
gonna
that.
become immortal.
Yeah, no, they
and
know
Megan
better
shows
than that.
up and saves the day, and
stop!
There it is.
And
hey, you
Buster,
started
Buster,
it.
that far.
Buster's gonna reprise.
You started it.
That Killer Shock is back. We got to do something.
Killer Shock.
Oh no.
All
right.
Real quick too, Strange Monkey saying there's a perfect opportunity to do the right thing and end this in such a perfect way, not what we got in Resurrection. Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
They've got a chance, man, and I'm hoping they can stick the landing. Crystal
they better
saying,
not
I
bring
think
Buster back in this one to do that shit.
Bring
Oh
him
my
on,
God,
man,
could
dude,
you
come on.
imagine?
Crystal says,
That's
want
the ending that's gonna piss everybody off.
Right? Oh man, it would piss
She
me
says,
off.
I think there will be a timelines in movies with Michael, but Michael needs to die in this timeline. Yes, I could definitely see that. Carrie saying, Laurie will only find peace if Myers is dead. It will only keep going unless Myers is dead. It is Laurie's time, but she has to go out killing Myers. Yeah. Yeah. C-Man saying, well, not definitive happy endings anyway. I mean, I think the big part of me is saying that it's going to be definitive. I think it's going to be a scenario where Allison has a huge part in either saving Laurie or hurting Michael, and then Laurie will be the one to save her in a sacrifice. I think that's the thing that comes most from my heart of thinking how they're going to do this, because I honestly don't think that Laurie Strode is going to survive this movie. I really don't.
She will.
Well, hey, I'd love to be wrong. I'm just saying, just as a gut reaction right now.
Look,
ahead,
we all know what's gonna happen. A guy in a leather duster and a cowboy hat is gonna come, and he's gonna be a member of Thorn, and he's gonna be like, "Kill for him," So that's what's gonna happen. We all know it. All right, let's just prepare.
Man, that's the thing. People, and I'm going to do another episode. I want to do a Halloween, like just another, like a franchise type of thing. But, well, actually, let me throw it to you, Eric, because obviously you had issues with 2018 and Kills. Now, to me, I always look at it, especially the big three, Jason, Michael, and Freddy. I kind of look at them as a total package. I mean, each movie is its own movie, but I also think of the journey to get to whatever movie I'm watching or talking about. We saw some rough moments with Curse and obviously with Resurrection. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but compared to where we were with those movies, what do you think of 2018 and Kills? I mean, in other words, did they right the ship? Because for me, it's a huge gap between, you know, Resurrection and Curse versus 2018 and Kills.
Okay. I've said it before, if we're talking the big three,
Mm-hmm.
my least, and it's only mainly because of the sequels, my least favorite franchise is Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because of, like, what you guys did like to say, the dark territory.
Mm-hmm.
After 4, those peaks are big valleys for me, because 4 is my favorite. I hate 5. So I liked 6 more, but that could just because of what it followed up. But then I think that they steered the boat in the right direction with H2O, because that the first third of the movie I think is good. That last third is fantastic. It's just in the middle where we got to follow Hartnett and his friends, that it's acceptable. You know what I mean? Like you said, it's a slasher movie. We have to have this stuff.
Yes.
So I think it was going in the right direction. Resurrection, the boat started to sink a little bit more. But like I said, my problems with 2018 notwithstanding, it wasn't Laurie. It was what I consider missed opportunities. You know, just stuff I didn't like. But I'll tell you what, and I told you this night when we did, like, you know, the One Deadly Venom streams where we watched the trailer for Kills. As much as I didn't like 2018, I was pumped for Kills.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, even though Laurie, again, didn't have much to do because she was, you know, I hate to say it, doped up in the hospital, they still made a fun movie.
Yeah.
And you know me, my 2 favorite words when talking movies is the fun factor.
Right.
I had a lot of fun with Kills. And so I honestly think this boat is going, you know, we're going in the right direction now. We've scooped out a lot of the water, you know, that we're taking in, and I think we're going to end on a good note. From a guy who when I first saw the trailer for 2018 and the concept, I didn't care because I'm the guy that said we did it 20 years prior.
Right.
From a guy who started that way, I'm now a guy who is looking very forward to seeing ends, and I'm pretty sure it will end in a satisfying way.
Nice. All right.
So,
man, I'm excited. I'm excited to see how it goes for you, man. What were you gonna say, Kill?
You know, it's interesting because, you know, I agree with a lot of what you just said, Eric. And for me, I think when we reviewed Kills, I think I was the one that was kind of the hardest on it because I felt it was too much of the town, too much of the evil dies tonight, you know. But the fun factor, it is, I agree with you, Eric, it is a fun movie, and, you know, no spoilers here, but you get to see Michael do some stuff that, you know, Michael Wick. But the one thing that I was sitting here thinking is, when it comes to trilogies, that second movie is, for me, either one of 2 things. It's either a bridge, which this is what this is, or it is, you know, Halloween plus. It's an upgrade. This movie for me is not an upgrade. This is a bridge. Like something like, you know, and obviously the Terminator franchise is not just a trilogy, but Terminator 2 is an upgrade. Aliens is an upgrade. Once again, I know those aren't trilogies; those are more franchises.
No, we get it.
But essentially, when you have that second movie or that middle movie in a trilogy, for me, it's either a bridge connecting, like, you know, some people, I don't know, but what is it, Matrix Reloaded? Was that an upgrade over the first one? Not really.
No.
For me, that was kind of a bridge to, you know, continue the story arc going to the third movie. So I can't wait for ends to come out, for me to sit in my favorite chair and watch them one after another, and see that complete trilogy, then how I feel about it. And I'm going to come back to you guys and I'm going to be like, you know what? Kills is good if you watch it all 3 back to back.
That could happen. Real quick too, Denisha was saying Resurrection was different, and people usually don't like change in character. I like the movie; it was different, and you want to see different things. Scream movie was different between them. I agree with that. I think a lot of people had issues with it because it was different. My issue with it wasn't that it was different. I just think that it was so far left field of the mythology that was presented in the previous movies. You know, Michael, to me in Resurrection, he didn't act like Michael. You know, he's kind of just walking around. He's watching people like literally within arm's reach, and obviously he gets killed by, you know, kung fu, which was ridiculous, and you know, all that type of stuff. But I will say, I appreciate it when a movie takes a chance. They did take a chance, and at the time, that was something that they thought was going to work. So yeah, I give them credit, but it just didn't work for me.
See, I don't hate Resurrection. I still think it's not the worst in the franchise, in my opinion. That's still, you know, number one with a bullet is part 5. I can still, we got that opening stuff with Jamie Lee, that dumb mistake she makes, notwithstanding that we talked about. I can still laugh at Resurrection. I'm not bored. I can still have a good time. It's a movie where you invite friends over with. You have some beer, you have some popcorn, and then you just put it on. Yeah. But my problem with Resurrection was mainly the characters. You know me, I'm a character guy. If I got to follow characters that I can't stand for 90 minutes, and it's not just Busta. There's a lot of bad characters in that movie. That was my problem with it. And like you said, they did change. God damn it.
I knew it. I'm sitting here, and I'm so sorry, Eric. I'm sitting here, and I'm like, when is he going to do it? When is he? I know my brother. When is he going to do it?
And see, that's the problem. It's like you said, Knight. It's they changed Michael's character.
Yeah.
The kung fu notwithstanding, as dumb as that was, the worst Busta part, you know what I mean, is when he's talking shit to Michael.
Yes.
He's poking him in the forehead.
Yes. Yeah.
But that was funny, though.
It was funny. Hey, in our episode, I played that clip. And
I thought I told you to go to the back. Now go to the back. And he did it. He was like, okay, I'll go to the back.
He turned around and walked away. Michael Audrey Myers walked away. Who does that?
Stabbed him or snapped his neck, then walked to the back. But
I'm Michael Myers.
But see, like Killian said, though, it's funny. So you can still laugh at Resurrection.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't find it funny, though. That's the whole thing.
Coriander's like, screw all this shit.
I will say this. One of the most fun I had during your guys' video for Resurrection was the fact that I think Coriander said she fell asleep for a lot of it and couldn't remember and didn't know how to really participate in that stream.
Yes.
Which says a lot.
See, I don't even remember that.
She was asleep during the stream. No, just joking. No, but and just to throw this out there, and we're about to wrap this up. But for you guys watching, and this isn't just shameless promotion, but I honestly mean it. Our Halloween Resurrection episode that we did was a fun.
Yes.
It really
episode. I mean, we had the chat was having fun. We were having fun. Coriander wasn't, but the great thing about Coriander is even when she's not having fun, it's so awesome to have her there because she's just that type of individual. It is.
Yes.
The looks you give and how me and Killian were reacting. So if you guys didn't get a chance to see it, or if you haven't seen it in a while, check out the Halloween Resurrection episode. It was hilarious.
It was a lot of fun.
Busta. But let's get ready to wrap this thing up. I'm gonna just go around with you guys, starting with Coriander. And I also want to just give a shout out because when we talk about legends, we cannot forget. Look, man, you guys know I love Psycho, and I think the great thing about H2O was that you got a chance to see two scream queens together, mother and daughter. Shout out to Janet Leigh. Just fantastic stuff, man. So I just want to give some shout out there, and credit where credit's due. You know, you got to go old school, baby. And Janet Leigh, you know, absolutely. So anyways, Coriander, as we head on out, first of all, I want to say this is a great conversation, guys. And if I wasn't going to work tonight, I'd keep going. I really would. So I also want to say that, shit, man, we could almost do a part 2 to this, you know, but you know, we have our discussions and figure out how we do episodes. But for you guys in the chat, let us know, you know, if it's something that you'd want to see us continue, because there's still some other things I want to talk about. We haven't even really touched upon Scout Taylor Compton, who obviously portrayed Laurie Strode in Rob Zombie's movies. And we talked a little bit about it. And I think that, you know, she did some good stuff. The character was a little bit different. But she did some great things in the movie too. So I just
That's
want
Jamie Lee right there, reading the little clause in the contract about having to be in Resurrection.
right,
Oh.
right, but right, but no, but I mean, so there's a lot more to talk about. But Coriander, as we end up, any final thoughts on Jamie Lee Curtis, either as an actress or portraying this role of Laurie Strode, or Laurie Strode herself?
Out of all the three franchises, I think Laurie is like my favorite. Um, and I love Jamie Lee portraying her. Like I said, I like have a girl crush for Jamie. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I just hope, she doesn't die and it ends good for her in a good way, good positive way. And Michael dies like it should be. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Marcus was saying, wow, I didn't know that was her mom.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Thanks for that Easter egg. Absolutely, man. And I also want to say something, all of us in this YouTube world, there's a lot of history, and sometimes, people don't know some of those different types of things. And I absolutely love passing on information and things like that to people that don't know it, and maybe it's something that they can enjoy and look into other things for. But yeah, Janet Leigh, I mean, and that's really kind of where it all started, as far as when you talk about a scream queen. Janet Leigh,
Yep.
the shower scene in Psycho, and yeah, that's Jamie Lee Curtis's mom. And they were just awesome together in H2O. It wasn't a lot of scenes. They also were together in The Fog by John Carpenter, which is another great John Carpenter movie. And it was just so cool just seeing them together. So I just want to say that again. But thanks for saying that, Marcus.
You ever see that photo of Jamie Lee in the shower holding up that picture of her mom screaming from Psycho? That's really cool.
Yes, that is. I should have had that one ready. I don't have that one ready. Were you going to say something, Kel?
They had the car from Psycho in H2O.
Yes.
That iconic convertible. She gets in it, and I'm like, oh, that's just so sweet and awesome.
Thank you. You are so right. Thank you so much. I almost forgot about that. And isn't that cool though, man? Like sometimes
very cool.
we can have those moments, and we give respect to those who've come before us that actually inspired us, and that was their way to give Janet Leigh that little bit of moment, and respect Psycho. Obviously, just a classic movie. I can't wait till we get back into that. We did an episode on the franchise, but we're gonna get back into Psycho as well. But Kill, any final thoughts on Miss Curtis or Miss Strode?
I love Jamie Lee as an actress, and I love Laurie Strode as a character, one of my favorite characters of all time. And I just hope they do her justice, which I think they will in Ends. And Jamie Lee, the actress, deserves some a great final act for this character.
Right.
So
yeah. Well said, man. Well said. How about you, Eric?
Final thoughts is I still think my favorite performance is H2O. I think that's the perfect mix of the tortured PTSD, and like Coriander likes to use the term the mama bear. You know what I mean? It's done well. It's the perfect. She at that final act in H2O, when she goes balls to the wall against Michael on her own. She's a great character. It's great to see where she started. This innocent schoolgirl, you know what I mean? She is the innocent one. Yeah, everyone's talks about, oh, well, she smokes weed. What? No, she's the innocent one. She's not like Linda having having the premarital sex. She's not like Annie, always complaining. She's the most likable character, and to see that arc go through her own peaks and valleys is great. And like Jamie Lee as an actress, I said it offline. She makes me think of Carrie Fisher.
Yes.
She knows where she came from. She doesn't give any shit about what people think about her. She's not afraid to say that. And she's proud of where she came from. Carrie Fisher was always proud of being Princess Leia.
Yes.
Jamie Lee Curtis has always been proud of being Laurie Strode.
Absolutely.
And she's always been proud of being a scream queen.
Yes.
Halloween, Prom Night, Terror Train, The Fog. She knows where she started, and she's proud of it, and she's never crapped on the genre like a lot of other big name actors and actresses have. So that's just another reason why I don't just love her, but I respect her, because we said it before, horror you know, when you take all the genres, horror's kind of like that little redheaded stepchild that everyone slaps around and doesn't want to talk about. You know what I mean? And it's great to see an actress of her caliber and history still give it the respect. She knows, like Johnny Depp in Nightmare on Elm Street. They give it the respect. It started their career, and they always give props where props due.
Absolutely.
Especially with her and John Carpenter.
Yes. I couldn't have said it any better, man. You definitely nailed it. And Jamie Lee, class act. And if this is the last time we see her this October, you know, I'm going to be sad either way. But there's been a lot of good moments with that character. It really has. It really has. As we head on out, Wayne saying we are all the Night Watch. True enough, man. True enough. Sunrise in the chat saying the film's editing was horrid. Sherman never uttered a word. And he's talking about Candyman. Dude, we're talking about Laurie Strode, man. Wayne also saying rest in peace to Carrie Fisher. Of course. You know, she was just amazing. She really was. But anyways, guys, please give the video a like. This was so much fun. In the comment section, please leave us a comment that helps the video out as well. But let us know what you think about Laurie Strode. What do you think about her performances as far as Jamie Lee Curtis? Is Halloween Kills the last time we're going to see her portray this character? Let us know. Let us know what you thought about our conversation. This was a really fun conversation. If you guys in the chat leave us comments and want a part 2 to this, we'll see if we can figure that out, because this was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. And of course, it's because this character has been around in 5 decades. Jamie Lee Curtis is like the only actor to portray a character in 5 different decades. That's crazy.
Right?
That's crazy.
Yeah, if you think about it, that's Halloween is the only one that really has that, you know.
Yes.
What's the closest we got? Elm Street and maybe Alice or Nancy?
Nancy, yep. You're right.
I mean, Heather Langenkamp, I guess, if you want to count New Nightmare, there's 3.
Well, if you actually want to really go deep, Halloween Double Dips with Donald Pleasance.
True enough.
So you had Laurie Strode, and then you had Donald Pleasance in at least what, 4 of the movies.
Yep.
You know, you don't get that in other franchises. That
5.
consistency. Oh, 5 Donald Pleasance movies. I mean, come on.
Absolutely. So anyways, guys, this was a lot of fun. But for you guys in the chat, we're going to be heading out. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Let us know in the comment section what you think. We'll be catching you guys later. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you are the Night Watch. Peace out. Peace to Jamie Lee Curtis.
Peace.
Sure.
Ch-